This is a fingering help video for one of the current Trinity classical guitar grade 8 pieces. It's from this book and it's called Earl of Essex, his Galliard. It's the first piece in the book. This is a piece by John Dowland. He was one of the best known lutenists and composers of the Renaissance. And this is also known as a lute song. It has words and the title of that is called Can She Excuse My Wrongs? There are a number of very typical Renaissance features in this piece, one of which is the structure of the piece. It can be easily divided into 3 sections, and each of those sections, the first half is the main tune, the second half is a variation on that, and from the time it would have been called divisions. So you have section A and then a division on section A, section B, a division on section B, and so on. This I would label it A1, A2, B1, B2 and C1 and C2. There are a couple of other features which are very largely connected with Renaissance music. One is that it's marked as being in 3/4, but there are places, particular bars, where it's very obviously a 6/8 feel to it. 3/4 and 6/8 have the same number of quavers to a bar. It's just the way those quavers are grouped that is different. So 3/4 would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/8 would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And emphasising the difference between those is quite important in this piece. The multi-layered nature of the music is also a very strong Renaissance type feature. You find this in a lot of Renaissance lute music, and it's like there are several singers, each singing their own line at the same time, and all of those parts are as important as the others. Because of the 3/4, 6/8 thing and the multi-layered nature, Renaissance lute music can be quite hard to read rhythmically. The best way I can say to work it out, if you're not sure about any of this, is to count it in quavers. Always count it in quavers, and that will help you work out both the multi-layered nature and the 3/4, 6/8 thing. Now we're going to start straight in with section A1 at the beginning. We're starting with an A minor chord shape. Lift the C because you need a B before that. So reach out with your little finger, first finger on B, and then we come into this chord. It is a dotted crotchet. It makes it quite an emphasised chord. Dotted crotchet is the longest that you find any of the chords in this piece. There is a reason for that, which I'll come on to later. So 2, 3, and those are the quavers that you'll need for that dotted crotchet. It's pretty much the dotted crotchet chord that you had previously. F sharp and G, that's all fairly straightforward, and then it's just G sharp and E. This is something that you find in a lot of Renaissance music. I tend to think of it as an elongated chord, playing around the notes of a single chord. The reason being, I think, that lutes weren't as resonant as guitars are. So if you just played a straight chord like that, it wouldn't last for as long as it does on the guitar. It wouldn't vibrate for as long. So you have to keep playing around the chord to make it sustain. And that is why I think there aren't that many long chords in this piece. The beginning of the second bar, that dotted crotchet, emphasises that chord because there's nothing that follows straight on after it. And you can use that. You can make the most of that. What would have been on a lute a little silence, it would have died away very quickly there. When you're playing the elongated chord, they're not all of equal prominence. You can do a little diminuendo within one of these elongated chords. On to bar 5. This is where you get your first bar that is obviously a 6/8 feel. That cannot be a 3/4 feel. It just doesn't work that way. Emphasise the 6/8 feel to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that gives you the dance Renaissance kind of feel to it. You'll notice that I went into third position for the last chord of bar 5, finger 1, 2, 3, and then slide back on your first finger, move these two fingers over. You only actually need one of them, but it's often easier to put both of them down for the first chord of bar 6. So, first position, third position, back into first. Another dotted crotchet, so that note, that chord is quite emphasised. That comes on the fourth quaver of the bar. It's kind of gone back into 3/4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because if it were 6/8, that would be quaver number 4 of the bar, and it would be more prominent, probably more notes on it. There's more weight to the triad on the 5th quaver of the bar. So you've got to there. This, the two demi-semiquavers at the end of the bar are just as fast as you can play them. There are two ways to play the first pair of notes in bar 7. You can do finger 3 and finger 4, in which case you will need to have those fingers really ready. And go 3 to 4 and 1 to 2. So that's one way of doing it. Or you can travel upwards with your first and second fingers, in which case you need to be really ready for it mentally to know that that's what you're going to do, because it has to happen quickly. Whichever you choose, that's what will work. Do it the same every time. And then it doesn't look like it, but the B, the A and the E all happen at the same time to give a dissonant chord which resolves onto the G sharp and then D. That's a fairly standard Elizabethan Renaissance type thing. So, and then it's an A major shape this time. Use your little finger and your third finger to do the semiquavers in bar 8. It's another kind of elongated chord, this. It's to lengthen and sustain the chord around it, this time using some auxiliary notes that don't actually belong in the chord, like the D and the B. At bar 9, we come into the division for section A, what I would call section A2. It uses a lot of semiquavers and a lot of scale runs. In the first 2 bars of section A2, you're going to need to change positions and use the open strings to enable you to do that smoothly. So you start off bar 9, again an A minor kind of feel, open E, and then F, little finger, fret 6, string 2, and you're in 3rd position, 1st finger, and that enables you to get smoothly into the 3rd position for the high A. 1st finger on the G, 3rd finger over to string 3, fret 5 for the C, open string for a B, that enables you to move smoothly back to the A in 1st position, G. So the first bit with the scales, it's all semiquavers. There again, still semiquavers, keep on going with those semiquavers. It may look like there's a strange rhythm going along, but it is just semiquavers, which is one of the good things about these division sections. Very often it is just a semiquaver rhythm, however strange it looks. This is where you get a bit of a multi-layered effect. You've got a voice in the top, and then an echoing voice in the bass. Both are as important as each other. You've ended up with a D there, little finger on the D. I tend to go 1st finger and 2nd finger and slide that 2nd finger back to fret 1 for the G sharp. You can use your 3rd finger and go back to a separate 2nd finger on the fret 1 G sharp. Either way, it involves crossing your fingers in a way that you wouldn't normally want to. So whichever suits you best. So from the end of bar 10, that's one of the reasons I like using a 2nd finger there. I can just cross it over to that E. That's the equivalent of the elongated chord in bar 4, that one, based around the E major chord. Stretch out your little finger for the F sharp there. Now you get into what is the 6/8 feel bar. And you can hear the 2 voices there fairly clearly. But it's just semiquaver, semiquaver, semiquaver rhythm. There's nothing weird there happening at all. Bar 14, it leaves that semiquaver rhythm for a syncopated one. Nothing too strenuous there though. Just watch out for those quavers. Now, that's fairly straightforward. Going to 2nd position helps you get that A, G. This is straightforward. again, that's the equivalent of the elongated chord in bar 8. Do the little diminuendo there, because you're ending on a weak beat of the bar, you don't want it to be strong. Section B1, you're starting with that E major chord type. The E, B, G sharp, E do all sound at the same time, although they're slightly offset in the way it's printed. This is one of the slight problems with lute music transcribed for the guitar. The notes can look like that they're not played at the same time because they're offset in the music. So, starting with that, third finger for the A, 3 and 4 for those two notes, leaves 1 and 2 free for those two notes. So, descending bass, it's gone into 6/8. So it will go 1, 2, 3. Another dotted crotchet. Take advantage of the stillness after your dotted crotchets. It emphasises those block chords. There aren't many of them in the piece. Emphasise them when they do come up. So G and G, hop your third finger over, hop it over again. Little finger for the D, back to that E major. Tied F sharp, so you don't need to play that again when you play the bass note. G and E, I would put my first finger on the E and then hop it back for the C and the A. You've ended up with a kind of D minor shape there. And then into third position, 1, 2, 3 again, and back to first position. This is pretty much the same as you did in bar 5, same kind of thing. It's got a 6/8 feel to it. So if we go from the end of bar 20, that's the rhythm. Another dotted crotchet there. There's a little B running up as an auxiliary note in the middle there. So you've got a middle voice there. It's nice if you can hear that. And then the next chord, A, F and E, are all played at the same time. It's another one of those offset printing ones. Gives you a dissonance. Play the C string 3 fret 5, B open string, little finger on string 4 fret 7, and then you can have a half bar at the 4th fret, middle finger on the 5th fret. Hinge that first finger up so you can play an open E, little finger, put the first finger down and lift it up again. So you've got a constant half hinge bar there. You're hinging it on the end of your finger for this. So from the middle of bar 23 should be no. And another one of those elongated chords at the end. The division for section B is a little bit more complicated rhythmically, just because it does tend to combine quavers and semiquavers. Starts off with that syncopated rhythm. Hold on to the lower note, because that's the lower voice which continues at the end of the bar, and you will be able to hear it if you let go of it. If it's continuous, it will attract less attention. So another syncopated rhythm. Little finger and third finger. Again, you've got a quaver here, followed by two semiquavers. Not syncopated this time, but there are quaver rhythms in there. So you've got an ascending bass scale that resolves to that E chord at the end. Bring it out. And then little scale, stretch out that fourth finger. Don't forget the G sharp after you've played the F sharp. Here's another 6/8 bar. So you've got those scales in the lower notes. Hold on the upper notes. You'll be able to hear if you let them go. And emphasize the 6/8 nature of that. Hold the upper notes here. The movement is in the lower notes. Don't let the upper notes detach from each other. Little finger on high A, middle finger on the F. So you can put your first finger on A. Here, I usually go back into first position because you have to let go of the high A, whatever fingering you choose. And I find the C, A, C, D more secure if I play it in first position. The fingering in the book for that bit, go into fourth position, middle finger, string 3, fret 5, little finger, string 4, fret 7, fret 5, back to that C again, little finger, string 3, fret 7 for the D, and you're in the right position for the next bit. So it's up to you which one you use. Both have their advantages. So you're in fourth position, first finger, second finger, G sharp and E, little finger on the F sharp, hold that G sharp, I would use that fingered E again, open B, C sharp, string 3 fret 6, D sharp first finger, open E, that means that you can go across with your third finger to fret 7, string 5, fret 6, string 4 for the G sharp, little finger comes in behind on fret 7 for the A, and B, open string. So those last two bars of section B2 go. Section C starts straight in with 6/8 feel, and the tune, as it is here, is in the middle part. You may have had tunes that come in the bass where the upper notes are accompaniment before. You will certainly have had pieces where the tune is in the top and the accompaniment is underneath. This time it's in the middle. Your tune goes. Gradually transfers into the upper part. Because it's moving, that will come out on its own. You just want to make sure that it's got the flow that marks it as a tune, rather than just a collection of random little figures. So you'll start off with the E and the C. Notice those repeated open E's there. Just emphasise those a bit, because they're not moving. Even though the high notes, they won't draw attention to themselves unless you cut them off. Make sure they carry on sounding. Your hand is nice and arched so that you're not going to sit on those notes and cut them off. The next two bars are the same kind of figure but moved up a tone. You will need a half bar on the second fret. This is a hinge bar. It's marked as a hinge bar in the book. However, last time we hinged on the end of our finger. This time you're going to hinge on the base of your finger and lift up so that you can get the G, the open G. So you'll start off with that half bar, little finger over on D, third finger on F sharp, lift up a little bit so you can get the G without letting go of the F sharp, pop it back down so you can get the A, third finger over onto B, so that bar, and then the next D, the open D, the bass note should be an open D there, where it was a fingered one in the previous bar. So the second two bars of section C1 go. Both of those phrases share the same rhythm, and they're actually playing in two time signatures at the same time. The tune, which is in the middle, is very obviously in 6/8. The accompaniment around it, the top and the bottom of it, is more in a 3/4 feel. So emphasise those two different time signatures. See if you can bring it out for the effect. And then you You start off with the same rhythm, E major, but you've kind of you're returning into 3/4. This bass note is very, very off the beat. Think of the rhythm that you've been playing. Bum, ba bum, bum. And it's bum, 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 bum. It's the same rhythm that you've been playing, but shared out between the notes differently so that it looks peculiar. Watch out for where you put that bass note. And then you're starting with an A major shape. You're going to play the next pair of notes with your little finger and your first finger, so have third and second fingers there. Third finger, stick that right out for the C sharp, F sharp and A. First finger slides back, little finger and middle finger, and then into an A major decorated chord at the end. On to section C2, you're starting with a bass run. Try and keep the E sounding while that's happening. It matches what happened in the previous section, C1, where you had those lasting E's while the tune was in the middle. The bass is more in a 3/4 feeling here. The next bar, however, uses a bit more complicated rhythm. So watch out for the ties, count it in quavers if you find it complicated, which it is, and watch out for those repeated E's. And then you go into the D major shape. Try and hold on to the F sharp for as long as you can while you've got that bass run. Reach out with your little finger. Bar 46, same rhythm as you had in bar 44. You may want to shift onto a third finger for the second F sharp in bar 46, so that you go second finger, little finger or third finger, third finger there, and then you've got your middle finger for the A, first finger for the G sharp, and then you can stretch out with your little finger for the F sharp. You can use your middle finger for that F sharp, but it takes quite a bit of shifting around with your first finger to achieve that. So those 4 bars. You end up on first and second fingers for an E major shape, little finger and fourth finger. Now this travels up the fretboard and back again, and if you use the right fingers it's easy. if you use the wrong fingers, it's hard. So start with your third and fourth fingers, move them up to fret 4, same fingers, slide up on your third finger, but add your second finger and remove your fourth finger. That will give you the C sharp and the A, fret 6 and 5. Slide your third finger up again, but add your little finger back into it for the high B first this time, and then back to the A and C sharp, back to fret 4, finger 4, finger 3, finger 4, finger 3, again on fret 2. So that bit there, and stretch out at the end, G sharp, F sharp. The next bit is fairly straightforward, starting on a D, and then A. Go for your third finger there for the F sharp, because that means you can go little finger, middle finger, and you've got your first finger left over for the G sharp, D. Now you've got some really fast notes here. That last bar uses some demi-semiquavers and some hemi-demi-semiquavers, and if you play them totally in time with the speed that you've been playing, it's going to go massively fast. Now, I personally am not good at massively fast, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that's really not good at that. There are techniques that help you get around that, and this is my particular workaround for that. So we're just looking at the last bar here. I would treat it much more freely in terms of rhythm than I've been going so far. I would act as if I'm speeding up, I pull back and gradually speed up through the demi-semiquavers, and then when I get to the hemi-demi-semiquavers, I go into fourth position and slur them. So those 3 A, G sharps, I will play those slurs because I can do it faster than I can with separate notes. Stretch my little finger out to fret 7, and by that point I am pulling back, I am slowing down before I get to the last chord. So, and then a spread chord for the end. So that last bar, and you can separate that last chord, bass, and then spread the top of the chord. It's fairly common in lute music to have a bass note and then the rest of the chord, largely because on lutes the bass strings can be so far away from the top strings, and there is often an unplayed string in the way, so you would play the bass and then go on to the next bit of the chord.